September 19th, 1937. A brownstone on Sullivan Street, Little Italy. 2:47 a.m. Vito Genovese sits across from the most powerful man in American organized crime. Lucky Luciano, 40 years old, architect of the modern mafia, controller of prostitution, narcotics, and labor racketeering from New York to Chicago. Luciano has just given an order. Not a request. An order. Kill Ferdinand Boccia, the man who knows too much about Genovese's wife's murder. The man whose testimony could destroy them both. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. Luciano expects immediate compliance. He's used to it. For 5 years, nobody has defied him and lived. But Vito Genovese, 40, Luciano's most trusted enforcer, looks him in the eye and says one word: no. The room goes silent. This wasn't supposed to happen. Enforcers don't refuse orders. The commission system Luciano created was built on absolute loyalty. But Genovese had just shattered that foundation with a single syllable. Within 48 hours, Vito Genovese vanishes from New York. Within 6 months, he's meeting with Mussolini in Rome. Within 10 years, he'll return to systematically destroy Lucky Luciano's empire and trigger a chain of events that will fracture the 5 families for 3 decades. But here's what the history books don't tell you. Genovese's defiance wasn't about principle. It was about Anna Petillo, a woman whose murder had made Genovese rich, and whose secret was worth killing Lucky Luciano himself to protect. Vito Genovese was born November 27, 1897, in Risigliano, near Naples. His family was desperately poor. In 1913, at age 15, he immigrated to New York alone, settling in Little Italy's Mulberry Street tenements. By 1931, he'd helped Lucky Luciano eliminate the old mustache Pete's and establish the commission system. Genovese was rewarded with promotion to underboss of what became the Luciano family. But in 1932, Genovese met Anna Petillo at a social club in Little Italy. She was 28, married to Gerard Vernatico, a small-time contractor. Anna was beautiful, intelligent, and completely unaware of Genovese's criminal activities. To her, he was just a successful businessman. Genovese became obsessed. Not infatuated, obsessed. He started following Anna, sending gifts, showing up wherever she went. When she refused his advances, he escalated. This wasn't romance. It was stalking. On March 16, 1932, Gerard Vernatico was found beaten to death on a Bronx street. The murder was brutal, personal. Multiple head wounds, broken bones, clear signs of prolonged torture. Police investigated but found no suspects. The case went cold. Anna Vernatico became Anna Genovese exactly 12 days later. The timing wasn't coincidental. What Anna didn't know was that her husband's murder had been ordered by the man she'd just married. Genovese had eliminated Gerard Vernatico not for love, but for possession. Anna was a trophy. Her husband was an obstacle. For 5 years, the marriage appeared stable. Anna believed her husband was legitimate. Vito was careful to keep his criminal activities separate. But he had a security problem. Ferdinand Boccia knew the truth about Gerard Vernatico's murder. And by 1937, Boccia was in debt to Genovese for $35,000 in gambling losses. When Boccia couldn't pay, he made a dangerous decision. He tried to blackmail Genovese. Pay off my debt, or I tell Anna and the police about Gerard Vernatico. Lucky Luciano's solution was direct. Kill Ferdinand Boccia immediately. But Genovese refused. Killing Boccia would confirm Anna's suspicions. She'd realized she'd been living with her first husband's murderer for 5 years. His obsession with Anna Petillo had made him sentimental. And in the mafia, sentiment was fatal. Lucky Luciano was not a man who accepted defiance. He'd built his empire on absolute obedience to commission orders. Genovese had just shattered that principle by putting personal feelings above organizational security. Luciano gave Genovese 48 hours to reconsider. Kill Boccia, or face the consequences. Genovese's response was strategic. Instead of continuing to refuse, he appeared to comply. On September 21, 1937, Ferdinand Boccia was found shot to death in his Bronx apartment. 2 bullets to the head, execution style. But Genovese had made a crucial error. He'd used Ernest Ruppolo to carry out the hit. Ruppolo was unreliable, a small-time hood with a big mouth. Within weeks, Ruppolo was bragging about the botched murder in East Harlem social clubs. Word got back to law enforcement. By October 1937, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office was building a murder case against Genovese. An indictment was imminent. On November 4, 1937, Vito Genovese boarded a steamship bound for Naples. He told Anna he had business in Italy. He'd be back in 6 months. He wouldn't return for 8 years. Italy in 1937 offered opportunities. Mussolini's fascist government was pragmatic about American mobsters who could be useful. Genovese arrived with approximately $750,000 in cash, roughly $15 million today. He immediately began cultivating relationships with fascist officials and running cigarette smuggling operations. But exile wasn't comfortable. Lucky Luciano had put a $50,000 contract on Genovese's head. For separate assassination attempts were made between 1938 and 1940. Genovese survived them all, but the message was clear. Defying Luciano had consequences that extended beyond American borders. When World War II erupted, Genovese adapted brilliantly. Initially aligned with Mussolini's regime, he smoothly transitioned to helping American forces when the Allies invaded in 1943. He became a translator and guide for the U.S. Army, simultaneously a fugitive from American justice and an American military asset. On June 1, 1945, U.S. Army CID agents arrested Vito Genovese in Rome on the murder warrant from Brooklyn. After 8 years of exile, he was finally going home to face charges for Ferdinand Botch's killing. But Genovese wasn't worried. He'd learned that Ernest Ruppolo, the prosecution's key witness, was vulnerable. On August 15, 1945, 3 weeks after meeting with his lawyer, Ruppolo was found floating in Jamaica Bay with 3 bullets in his head. Without Ruppolo's testimony, prosecutors had no case. On December 1, 1945, all charges against Vito Genovese were dismissed. He walked out of court a free man. But freedom came with a price. Anna had learned the truth during his 8-year absence. When Genovese returned to their New Jersey mansion, Anna was gone. She'd filed for divorce and disappeared. The obsession that had driven everything was over. Now Genovese faced a choice: quiet retirement or reclaiming what he believed was his. He chose war. Frank Costello was running family operations while Luciano remained in Italy. Albert Anastasia controlled enforcement. Both were powerful and dangerous. But Genovese had advantages. 8 years in Italy had taught him patience, and his exile had made him invisible to federal surveillance. In 1946, Lucky Luciano was released from prison and immediately deported to Italy. Their reunion in Naples was not friendly. Luciano expected Genovese to remain subordinate, but 8 years had changed Genovese. He'd built his own operation, his own power base. Their February 15, 1946 meeting at the Grand Hotel Excelsior marked the beginning of a Cold War between the two men. Genovese's strategy was methodical. He couldn't directly challenge the existing power structure, not yet. His first target was Frank Costello. Frank Costello, 66, was walking into his apartment building at 115 Central Park West on May 2, 1957, at 10:55 p.m. He'd spent the evening at the Copacabana nightclub, conducting business, maintaining relationships. As Costello entered the marble lobby, Vincent the Chin Gigante stepped out of the shadows. "This is for you, Frank." Gigante fired once. The bullet grazed Costello's scalp, carving a bloody groove above his right ear. Superficial wound, but the message was clear. Costello survived, but his nerve didn't. When police arrived, he claimed he didn't see the shooter. He refused to identify Gigante even though witnesses saw the shooting. This wasn't loyalty, it was fear. The attempted assassination worked exactly as intended. Within weeks, Costello began transferring operations to other family members. He stepped back from leadership, making it clear he wouldn't challenge Genovese for control. But eliminating Costello wasn't enough. Genovese faced another obstacle: Albert Anastasia, Lord High Executioner of Murder Incorporated. As long as Anastasia lived, Genovese couldn't claim complete control. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. Albert Anastasia was protected by bodyguards, surrounded by loyal soldiers, constantly alert to danger. But he had one vulnerability: his weekly routine at Arthur Grasso's barbershop in the Park Sheraton Hotel. Every Friday morning at 10:30 a.m., Anastasia would arrive for a shave and haircut. He'd dismiss his bodyguards and relax. For 30 minutes, he was vulnerable. October 25, 1957. Anastasia entered the barbershop as scheduled. Two men were waiting, wearing scarves over their faces. As Anastasia settled into the chair, they approached from behind. The first gunman fired 4 shots. The second fired 6. Anastasia tried to fight back, stumbling toward his attackers, but the wounds were fatal. He collapsed on the barbershop floor, blood pooling around the chair. The gunman walked out calmly and disappeared into Manhattan traffic. The most feared enforcer in organized crime was dead. Both shootings, Costello's wounding, Anastasia's murder, were orchestrated by Vito Genovese. He'd systematically eliminated the 2 men who stood between him and control of what had been Lucky Luciano's family. With Frank Costello neutralized and Albert Anastasia dead, Vito Genovese moved to formalize his control. In November 1957, he organized a national mafia summit at Joseph Barbera's estate in Appalachian, New York. The meeting would bring together bosses from across the country to recognize Genovese as the new family head. Over 100 mafia leaders gathered on November 14, 1957. Carlo Gambino from New York, Sam Giancana from Chicago, Santo Trafficani from Florida. Every major family sent representatives. But the meeting was a disaster. New York State Police Sergeant Edgar Croswell noticed an unusual number of expensive cars with out-of-state plates converging on the Barbera estate. Suspicious, he called for backup and set up roadblocks. When police raided the estate, chaos erupted. Mob bosses scattered into the woods, running through fields in $500 suits, hiding in outbuildings. 58 were arrested, their names immediately public. The national crime syndicate that had operated in shadow for decades was suddenly front-page news. For Genovese, Appalachian was both triumph and catastrophe. He'd demonstrated enough power to call a national meeting, but he'd also exposed the entire organization to unprecedented federal scrutiny. The FBI, which had long denied the mafia's existence, could no longer ignore the evidence. Edgar Hoover launched a massive investigation. The federal government declared war on organized crime. And it all started because Vito Genovese's ego demanded public recognition of his power. The Appalachian raid marked the beginning of the end for Vito Genovese. He was convicted of conspiracy to obstruct justice and served 3 years in prison, getting out in 1960. But federal agents weren't finished. While Genovese was imprisoned, investigators approached Nelson Cantelops, a Puerto Rican drug dealer who'd worked with the Genovese family. Facing life in prison, Cantelops agreed to testify against Genovese in a narcotics conspiracy case. The case was built around a heroin trafficking operation that Genovese had allegedly overseen in the mid-1950s. Cantelops claimed Genovese had been the mastermind behind a network that imported heroin from Sicily and distributed it throughout New York. On July 7, 1959, Vito Genovese was indicted on federal narcotics charges. His lawyers argued he was being framed, that Cantelops was lying to save himself. But the jury didn't buy it. On April 17, 1959, Vito Genovese was convicted on all counts. Judge Alexander Holtzoff sentenced him to 15 years in federal prison and a $20,000 fine. Genovese was 61 years old. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars. At Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, Genovese tried to maintain control through intermediaries. But prison walls limited his influence. Younger family members began making their own decisions, paying lip service to his authority while building their own power bases. On February 14, 1969, Vito Genovese died of a heart attack in the prison medical facility. He was 71 years old, having served nearly 10 years of his sentence. The man who defied Lucky Luciano died alone in federal custody. Vito Genovese's defiance of Lucky Luciano created a chain reaction that reshaped organized crime for generations. His refusal to kill Ferdinand Boccia wasn't just personal sentiment. It was the beginning of the end of the stable commission system Luciano had created. The immediate consequences were obvious. Genovese's exile removed one of Luciano's most capable lieutenants. His return and war for control destabilized the New York families throughout the 1950s. His orchestration of Appalachian exposed the national crime syndicate to federal investigation. The long-term effects were more profound. The Genovese family became the most violent and paranoid of the five families. Genovese's example created a culture where loyalty was temporary and violence was the ultimate arbiter. The federal investigation triggered by Appalachian led directly to the passage of RICO in 1970. This legislation gave prosecutors the tools to dismantle entire criminal organizations. Every major mob prosecution since has relied on RICO statutes. Frank Costello lived quietly until 1973, never returning to active leadership. Albert Anastasia's murder created a power vacuum that led to 3 decades of mob wars. Lucky Luciano watched his commission system collapse from Italian exile. Anna Petillo Genovese lived quietly under an assumed name until her death in 1982, never speaking publicly about her marriages or connection to organized crime. Vito Genovese's story proves that defiance has consequences extending far beyond the original act. When he told Lucky Luciano no, in 1937, Genovese thought he was protecting a secret. Instead, he began a war that consumed both men and fractured the American Mafia permanently. The irony is perfect. Genovese destroyed everything he tried to control. His obsession with Anna cost him her love. His defiance triggered his exile. His return sparked violence that brought federal attention. His seizure of power led to imprisonment and death. One word, no, spoken by an enforcer to his boss in a Little Italy brownstone, changed American organized crime forever. Not because Vito Genovese was particularly powerful, but because he put personal feelings above criminal discipline. And in the mafia, that's always a fatal mistake.